Good morning. I hope you're excited to get started learning this morning. We have some exciting content to cover. Okay, we are going to start talking about our brain and how it responds in our body. So, how does our brain control everything that we do? Um, Today, you're going to want to pay attention. You're going to want to pause this. We have some, oh gosh, excuse me, we have a couple fun experiments to try that'll really test your brain. If you don't have one, you might want to grab a sheet of paper because you will need one for this experiment. So if you don't have a sheet of paper, go ahead and grab one, and we're going to get started. Ooh, it's not starting at the beginning, so let's try this again. Okay, here we go.
Hi, it's Doug. One day, people were going to work in a small town outside of Dublin, Ireland. And as they did so, they stumbled across something terrifying. It was this. A giant crack had opened up in the street. Now, some people were curious, and so they walked up to the edge. Would you? I mean, you'd have to be so careful, right? Look at that. It looks like you could fall right in. Wait a second. What just happened? What is going on? That's not a crack. It's not a crack at all. It's just a sidewalk painting. It's artwork painted by an artist named Edgar Mueller. It just looked like a crack in the ground. It was that realistic looking. This is what's called an illusion. And for a moment, it tricked you, didn't it? Now, to be more exact, it tricked your brain. Your brain is an interesting organ, and we're going to trick it with some more illusions today. Now, you probably already know that your brain is one of the most important organs in your whole body. We think of it as the body's boss or commander, really. It's in charge. Scientists have discovered that without your brain, your legs wouldn't walk, your mouth wouldn't talk, your heart wouldn't even pump. And we think of the brain as really us, too, right? It's who we are. I mean, think about it. As you get older, the different parts of your body, they start to get older, too. They wear out. So if some future technology let you replace some of your body parts as they get older, like replace your heart or replace a leg, you'd get on pretty well. You'd still be you, just with a new heart or a new leg. But what if you got a new brain? That'd be terrible. You'd lose everything, all the great memories you'd have. You'd lose memories of all the good times with friends and all the trips you'd taken. You wouldn't even know who your parents are. You wouldn't know your favorite food. Scientists have figured out a lot about the human body. They know how hands work and muscles and eyes. But the brain, so much of who we are, so much of what we do is our brains. It's our thinking and our memories. And yet, of all the parts of the human body, the brain is maybe the most mysterious to scientists. Like, for example, how exactly does your brain store all those memories you have? Do you know no one has figured that out yet? Or why do our brains dream at night? That's a mystery. Now, it's not that scientists have figured out nothing about the brain. They have some interesting clues. And also, unlike so many other organs, doing a dissection of the brain and looking at it with just our eyes, that hasn't been super helpful. It's not like your hands, where scientists can look inside and easily see how those work, little strings pulling on bones. The brain doesn't have any moving parts in there. There's no wheels or gears that are turning in there. When you have a great idea, there's no light bulb inside that actually goes off. So what is this thing inside that head of yours? What is your brain? What does it do? That's the subject of today's mystery. Now, to get some sense of its jobs, let's consider another illusion, a quick experiment that might surprise you. Do you think that you can make it look like you have a hole in your hand? Watch my friend Pat do this, then you'll have a chance to try it. First, she rolls up a sheet of paper to make a tube. And then, keeping both eyes open, she looks through the tube with one eye and covers her other eye with her hand. As she slowly moves her hand forward away from her eye, when she gets the distance just right, she sees this. See, she can totally make it look like she has a hole that goes right through her hand. Try this out for yourself. The next slide shows you what to do after you roll a sheet of paper into a tube.
All right, guys, so go ahead and roll that sheet of paper into a tube, pause this video, and see if you can make a hole go in your hand. I was really freaked out when I tried this. It's pretty cool. It definitely works. So go ahead and try this out. All right, go ahead and pause me now. All right, I hope that it worked. So why do you think there was a hole in your hand? Like, obviously there wasn't really a hole in your hand, but why did it appear that there was a hole in our hand? All right, so here's a little hint. It says, try the experiment again. This time, find out what each eye sees by closing each eye at one time while keeping the other open. All right, so go ahead and try that experiment again doing that. Pause the video here. Okay, guys, let's see. Why did it seem like there was a hole in our hand?
If it looked like you had a hole in your hand, you can't blame your eyes because each eye was just reporting to the brain what it saw. The reason it looked like you had a hole in your hand was because each eye saw different things. One eye saw a hole, the rolled up sheet of paper, but the other eye saw your hand. Your brain took the information from each eye and combined it into one picture, a hole in your hand. But then your brain did something next. It had to make a decision based on what it was seeing. It had to ask itself, is this real? Do I really have a hole in my hand? Obviously, this was a really quick decision. You knew right away you didn't actually have a hole in your hand. It's not like you were going to call for an ambulance or something. But that's only because your brain didn't just receive information from your eyes. You have other senses too. Your brain got information from down in your hands, down in your sense of touch or your sense of feeling. And you knew you didn't feel any pain in your hand. When scientists look carefully in dissection, we can see that all the senses have cords going back to the brain. These cords are called nerves. They carry information from your senses to the brain. This includes not just your eyes and your sense of touch, but your other senses too, like your nose, your tongue, and your ears. So in the hole in the hand illusion, you observed one of the brain's many jobs, one that it's constantly doing. And that's to take in information from all of your senses and combine that information and then make decisions about that information. In other words, your brain has to think. Most of the time, you don't even notice your brain making decisions, like with the hole in your hand. It just seemed automatic. You knew there wasn't really a hole. But scientists have figured out an experiment to slow down that thinking, to make thinking a little harder so that you can really notice yourself trying to think or make decisions. You're going to do one of these experiments now. Go to the next slide, and if you're in a group, have a volunteer try it out.
Okay, so we're not all together in class, so we can't do this. But I want you to take a second, and I want you to quickly read these words out loud to your class or to your dog. So Griffey, I would go yellow, red, orange. So you're just kind of reading the words. Okay, go ahead and pause this video and do that now. All right, so you've done that. Maybe you thought it was easy. Now let's try a different slide. All right, so now I want you to pause this video and I want you to say the color of each word. So I have not changed the slide. Last time you read yellow, red, orange, but now you're going to say the color. I'm going to say red, yellow. See how that worked. Go ahead and pause your video and try to do that. A little bit harder, huh? The first slide was a little bit easier for me. I don't know about you guys. It's just a little harder to say the color instead of read the word. All right, let's see what Doug has to say about this.
In the experiment you did with colored words, it was the switch from reading words to naming colors that took a lot of effort. A lot of decision making was going on inside your brain. Rather than doing what you were used to doing, you had to think really hard to ignore the words and instead say the colors. So we've seen now that the brain is always getting information from your senses, with nerves leading into the brain. And then there's thinking or decision making that the brain does with that information. As this last experiment with colored words showed you, you could really feel your brain thinking hard. But what good is all that information and thinking if you can't do anything? As it turns out, through dissections and experiments, scientists discovered that there's another, different set of nerves leading outward from the brain, into your arms and legs, out to all the different muscles in the body. It's by using these movement nerves that the brain controls the movement of your body. This way, you can respond to the information and thinking that your brain has been doing. For example, if you had really thought there was a hole in your hand, you might pick up the phone and call 911. You can only do that because of the movement nerves that connect your brain to the muscles in your arm and hand. Now, what you're seeing here is just an illustration. It's been drawn by somebody. But movement nerves are real things. They look like this. This is a photo of real nerves on display at a museum. So there are nerves running into the brain from your senses, the sensory nerves, and nerves running out from your brain to your muscles, movement nerves. So now let's see how all these work together. Sensory nerves, thinking, and movement nerves in a little experiment that you can do right now in your classroom.
All right, we're not going to do this next experiment. I just kind of wanted to look at those two experiments today. I want you to think about how our senses and our brain control how we respond to things in our environment. For example, if we are going to put our hand close to a hot stove, our sense of touch is going to feel that heat and we'll go, you burned yourself. And our brain kind of does that automatically with some of these sensory nerves and using our senses. So what I want you to take away from today is that the senses and movement nerves control how we respond to things in our environment. All right, I want you to go ahead and make sure you answer your exit slip question on Google Classroom today, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.